I never thought I'd be the kind of man to let things slide. I wasn't raised that way. I came from nothing. My parents worked their fingers to the bone just to keep the lights on. There was no time for distractions, no room for failure. The only thing that mattered was providing. And I did that through thick and thin. But the day I found out my wife was cheating on me, everything shifted. The foundation of everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and family crumbled in a matter of seconds. It wasn't like I had been blind to the cracks in our relationship. They'd been there for a while, subtle at first, growing sharper as time went on. I'd pushed it aside, convincing myself it was just the stress of life, the kids, the bills, the constant juggling. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I just didn't want to admit it. Her name was Claire, and when I met her, I thought she was the answer to all my prayers. She was everything I'd ever wanted in a woman smart, beautiful kind. She filled the void in my life, the one I didn't even know existed until I met her. We built a life together, a home, 2 kids, a future. I was proud of what we had. I worked my ass off every day to make sure our family had everything they needed, and for the longest time I thought that was enough. But when I caught her, everything changed. It was a regular Wednesday evening. The kids were at a friend's house, and Claire was out doing whatever it was she said she was doing. I had come home early that day, something I rarely did, but there I was, walking through the front door and hearing something I shouldn't have. I didn't know it at the time, but that single moment would shatter my world. I heard her laugh, that laugh, the one that used to make me smile. But this time, it sounded different. It sounded wrong. I followed the sound, slowly, my heart pounding in my chest. And there she was, on the couch, her legs wrapped around him. A man I didn't know, a man she'd been hiding from me. Her hands were all over him, and she didn't even notice me standing there, watching them, frozen in disbelief. I stood there for what felt like an eternity. Part of me wanted to scream, to confront her right there and then, but another part of me knew I needed to stay calm. I needed to think. I had to make the right choice because this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the kids. The anger didn't hit me immediately. It was too much to process all at once. But the hurt came crashing down like a tidal wave. I watched her, and for the first time, I saw her for what she truly was. A liar, a cheater, a woman who thought she could get away with everything. I quietly turned and walked out. My mind was spinning, but I had a plan. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to be the man she thought I was. I wasn't going to stay in this broken marriage, pretending everything was fine. I spent the next hour pacing around the neighborhood, trying to control the rage building inside me. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the image of her with him, my wife, my family. It was all a lie. When I walked back into the house, I wasn't the same man who left. I wasn't the quiet, passive husband she thought I was. I was someone new. Someone who wasn't going to let her destroy everything I had worked so hard for. I went straight to the door and changed the locks. It didn't matter that she wasn't home. I wasn't going to wait around for her to come back and act like nothing had happened. She had made her choice, and now I was making mine. I went upstairs and packed up my things, just the essentials. A few clothes, toiletries, some pictures of the kids. Nothing else mattered. I didn't need anything else. Then, I went to the kids' room and kissed them each on the forehead. They were asleep, completely unaware of the storm that was about to hit. I promised myself I would protect them from the pain as much as I could. I grabbed the kids' things, packed them up, and walked out of the house. Claire wouldn't know where we went. She wouldn't even know I had left until it was too late. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to tear our family apart, but she had left me no choice. She'd broken my trust, and now I was taking back control. I called a close friend, someone I knew I could trust. I told him everything about Claire, about what I had seen, about the pain in my chest that wouldn't go away. He listened quietly, offering a few words of support, but I could tell he understood. "Take your time," he said. "We'll get through this together." I drove for hours, just me and the kids, letting the silence fill the car. I couldn't think about the life we had built, the house that was now just an empty shell of what it used to be. I couldn't think about Claire. I had to focus on the future now. When I finally stopped, I found a small motel. Nothing fancy, but it was safe. I wasn't ready to go back, not yet. and I wasn't going to let Claire find me easily. I spent the next few days in a haze of anger, disbelief, and hurt. I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened, about everything I had given to hear everything I had sacrificed for our family. And she had just thrown it all away. But as the days passed, the anger started to fade. It didn't go away. Not completely, but it became something else. Something more calculated. I was done being the victim. I called a lawyer, and the divorce papers were drawn up. It was the hardest thing I had ever done, but it felt necessary. I had spent too many years making excuses for her. I had overlooked too many signs. Now, it was time for me to fight for what I had left. I went to Claire's house a few days later, the kids in tow, ready to face her. When I walked through the door, she was standing there, her eyes wide with shock. "Where are the kids?" she asked, her voice trembling. "They're with me now," I said flatly. "We're not coming back." She tried to apologize, tried to make excuses, but I didn't want to hear it. I wasn't interested in her apologies anymore. I wasn't interested in the woman who had broken me. I looked her in the eyes, cold and distant. "You made your choice, Claire. Now I'm making mine. The kids and I are gone, and there's nothing you can say to change that." She cried, begged me to stay, but I didn't care. The truth was too clear. She had destroyed everything we had, and there was no going back from that. The divorce was final a few months later. The house was sold, and I made sure the kids had everything they needed. Claire didn't take it well. She fought for custody, for alimony, for everything. But in the end, she lost. She lost it all. As for me, I moved on. I started over. It wasn't easy. It never is. But I realized something in that process sometimes. The best way to move forward is to leave behind everything that holds you back. I wasn't going to stay in a marriage built on lies, and I wasn't going to be anyone's doormat. I changed the locks. I took the kids, and I disappeared. And for the first time in years, I felt free.